some relief from the heat after today's WRAL Weather Alert Day. When we'll see a brief break from the intense heat and your hour-by-hour rain and storm chances.
Sweating out the outage. Residents of one local town are going on days without power. The soonest officials say the lights and the AC could come back on.
Still closed. Parks and trails in Durham and Orange County are damaged and blocked off when some of the most popular spots could reopen.
Thanks for being here at 7 o'clock. I'm Ashley Rowe. Boy, I hope you have some air conditioning going or at least a fan because this heat is for real, y'all. In fact, the heat index has been above 100 degrees for the last 6 days in a row. Woo! And when you get the heat, you get storms. We've got a few popping up actually in our area right now. Kat, these could once again bring some flooding to the area.
Yes, we're watching for some heavy rain out there again today. And we've dealt with that. Cary is one of the areas that saw some pretty heavy downpours. The Garner Tower camera still showing some rain falling. It's lightning up there. But we have widespread rain that we're tracking across Wake County for the dinner hour tonight. A lot of people still on the roads, maybe heading home or heading out to dinner. Durham, Chapel Hill, the rain is lightening up and tapering off, at least shortly. In Durham it will. And we do still have a little bit of lightning in Wake County, but the heaviest rain, I believe, has passed for Wake County. It's now making its way into Harnett County as we speak. It's going to be tracking closer to Lillington. Smithfield seeing a little rain, but more is on the way once it passes by Clayton. We also have a thunderstorm that we are tracking in Enfield. All of these are moving to the southeast out ahead of a front, and we could still see some redevelopment for the areas that don't see this initial round of rain. And that would come late tonight. We leave in a small 20% chance for rain overnight all the way into tomorrow morning. It's been hot today, still triple-digit heat index values on the map. And I feel like I've said the same thing every day this month. But tomorrow I get to say something different. I'll have a closer look at why coming up.
Feels like more than 100 degrees. And just think, our friends in Enfield, some of them are still without air conditioning. They're still in the dark. The power outage started on Saturday after storms came through. And as the town of Enfield, helped by Dominion Energy, races to fix the problem, town council is trying to figure out what happened and what to do next. WRAL's Eric Miller is covering this story for us tonight. Eric, the mayor declared a state of emergency. The power may not come back on for a little while longer.
Ashley, another 24 hours plus. Just within the last 30 minutes, Enfield's town council wrapped up a meeting here at their administration building, and we got an update on how long it's going to take to get this outage fixed. You take a look, there is power here, but not right across the street, literally the heart of Enfield, almost the entire downtown at this point, and some surrounding neighborhoods still completely without power. You can even see some traffic lights off in the distance, still dark, and you may just be able to hear the hum of some generators trying to provide some emergency power in this area. So what about that fix? Enfield's mayor tells me they're working on a solution right now. They're hoping to have this in place starting tomorrow morning. They're having to wait for the morning to get a time of lower power demand to try to put this in place. And tentatively, the hope is to have the lights back on by sometime tomorrow afternoon. Again, that's a tentative plan. That's not a guarantee at this point. Speaking inside the meeting here this afternoon, the mayor painted a dire picture of what this outage could mean and has meant for many of the town's residents. Take a listen.
You have problems like this that are exacerbated to the point where we could lose citizens. We have people texting and calling me about their medication that needs to be in refrigerators and their electricity is still off.
Yeah, it really brings the cost home right there. Now, of course, all of this goes back to when those storms rolled through Enfield on Saturday. Again, according to the mayor, there were several critical pieces of infrastructure that failed. Even some backups they had on hand and were able to install, those failed as well. So it really has been a race by crews from the town of Enfield, from Halifax, as well as from Dominion Energy, trying to get all of this fixed and get power restored to the town. It has been a very long, hot, and unpleasant wait for a lot of folks in this area. Ashley.
No kidding. This is a serious issue on so many fronts. And Eric, the mayor is putting the blame on what he calls systemic issues. What does he mean by that?
Yeah, so if you talk to anybody here in the town of Enfield, they will tell you this is not the first time the lights have gone out. This is something that happens with relative regularity, and that's because the town's grid here, it's quite old, it's quite dated, it's in need of upgrades. The mayor here paints a very broad picture of how exactly that's come to pass, saying it goes all the way back to the 1950s, and in some cases even earlier, with the decision to locate Interstate 95 away from Enfield, which he says has sapped investments, sapped money away from the town, and has denied it the kind of resources it needs to try to keep up a modern and vibrant energy grid. The mayor also pointing fingers at the Trump administration as well, which he says has canceled money that the Biden administration was planning to send to Enfield and other towns like it to upgrade critical infrastructure. We're still working on running down some details there. Hope to have more on that for you tonight at 10 and 11 o'clock.
Well, we sure hope they get those.
Eric Miller, WRAL News.
We sure hope they get those infrastructure upgrades. Eric, thank you.
This is Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center with an update to a story we brought you over the weekend. Chapel Hill police now have connected an armed robbery that happened last week and a carjacking reported over the weekend. 10:30 Saturday night, a woman got money out of an ATM on Willow Drive, went back to her house, and apparently 3 men followed her home, stole cash and her credit cards. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt. And then over the weekend, around 2:30 Saturday morning, a report of a carjacking in the Franklin Street area on the 1500 block of East Franklin Street. 3 men stole a vehicle there from 2 people. It happened at gunpoint there in the middle of the night. They located that car later in Durham, and again, thankfully, no injuries. Tonight, Chapel Hill police are looking for those suspects in both of those incidents. If you have any information, contact Chapel Hill Police.
Okay, Brian. If you're just getting to the news, let's get you caught up. Here are 5 things you should know right now. Investigators still have not identified the man shot and killed during an encounter with Cumberland County deputies. This happened around 10 last night on Catherine Drive. It was originally a brush fire call. Firefighters called the sheriff's office after seeing a man with a gun. The sheriff's office says the man didn't comply with orders to drop the weapon and then pointed it at deputies. 4 deputies are on leave while the SBI investigates. New tonight, State Senate Leader Phil Berger sent a date to try to override several vetoes from Governor Josh Stein. Berger plans to bring state senators back from break next week on July 29th. The bills deal with things like concealed carry permits and immigration enforcement. Republicans have the votes in the Senate, but they need a Democrat to vote with them in the House. Otherwise, the vetoes will remain in effect. Drug company Biogen plans to invest $2 billion into its site at RTP. It'll upgrade and expand a variety of facets of the company, like scaling up gene therapy tools. Biogen has several pharmaceutical factories in RTP. Hey, check your fridge. Kayam Foods is recalling more than 24,000 pounds of ready-to-eat chicken sausage. The Agriculture Department says there may be white pieces of plastic in the sausage. The recall affects the Alfresco 11-ounce 4-piece pack in the sweet apple variety. The sausage was made on June 28th with a freeze-by date of October 1st. If you have it, throw it away, or you can return it to the store for a refund. So far, good news, no illnesses have been reported. Part of Northwest Cary Parkway will close until next week. Crews are there building a new pedestrian bridge over the Black Creek Greenway. Meantime, the road is closed between Norwell Boulevard and North Harrison Avenue. Detour signs are posted. Do trails have to be deleted off the map entirely? That's something that we are definitely facing here. That's your quote of the day from Kimberly Radowitz, the superintendent of Eno River State Park. She's talking about the lingering damage from Chantal. It's been 2 weeks. Things are still far from normal, including at Eno River State Park. There's still debris everywhere. They still aren't 100% sure of the exact extent of the damage. WRAL's Monica Casey went to the park today to get a better sense of what it was going to cost to fix it.
This is quite an engineering job to undertake.
A beloved Durham landmark tangled with tree branches and impassable. This is the suspension bridge at Eno River State Park.
River parks are beautiful, but they can be challenging.
Park Superintendent Kimberly Radowitz tells me weeks after the storm, they are still assessing the damage and the future of the state park.
Do trails have to be deleted off the map entirely? And that's something that we are definitely facing here, but we won't know more until the land truly dries out, the daily rain is not helpful for us to be able to go in and do some of this work because the sediment remains very soft.
Over in Chapel Hill, the town is facing millions in damage. Bowling Creek Trail is closed between Umstead Drive and the community center. Some of the damaged areas will be closed for 12 to 18 months, costing $5 million to repair. Morgan Creek Trail is closed between South Columbia Street and Merritt's Pasture. That will be closed for 6 to 8 months and cost $500,000.
So that's Monica Casey reporting. The park is still closed to the public. It's likely going to be that way for a while. Meantime, the Occoneechee Mountains State Natural Area in Hillsborough, it may be open in a few weeks. All right, you probably know the difference between marijuana and hemp, right? One is legal, the other is not. But can you see the difference? If you can't tell them apart, you can imagine law enforcement struggle with it too. A court case tackling this problem could open the door to more aggressive police searches statewide. We're going to talk about that after the break. Let me ask you a question. Do you know the difference between hemp and marijuana? I mean, sure, you probably know that one is legal and one is illegal. But when I put them side by side, one picture of hemp, one picture of marijuana, can you tell which one is which? They look almost identical. They also smell the same. Unfortunately, smell-o-vision hasn't been invented yet, so no examples for you on that. The key difference between the two plants is the amount of THC, the chemical that gets you high. Marijuana has a lot of it. Hemp does not. But think about that. Two things that look and smell the same. One is against the law. The other is perfectly legal. For the people enforcing those laws, this can be pretty confusing, right? I mean, how are officers supposed to tell the difference? Answering this question is central to a big legal case in North Carolina right now. The story starts in Beaufort County out at the coast. A teenager was pulled over after a lieutenant at the sheriff's office smelled what he believed to be marijuana emanating from inside the vehicle. Then, based on the perceived marijuana odor, officers searched the vehicle and seized marijuana, a digital scale, and a handgun. True, the kid should not have had the gun. But his lawyer argued officers should not have been able to search the car in the first place, saying the officers lacked probable cause, that they could not have known whether the smell was marijuana or hemp. A trial judge agreed, ruling in the teenager's favor. But this month, an appeals court revisited this case, ruling in the officer's favor. It's a decision that has ripple effects statewide. And to better understand how this case at the coast affects the Triangle, I spoke with WRAL state government reporter Will Doran. Will, what exactly does all of this mean?
Yeah, so this new court ruling really gives police officers the green light in North Carolina to get much more aggressive in searching people for the smell of marijuana. Because marijuana and hemp look the same. Previously, there had been a lot of apprehension about that. Even the State Bureau of Investigation said police officers don't have probable cause anymore after we legalized hemp, which happened about 5 years ago. This new court ruling throws all of that out, and it says, no, police officers don't need to have any sort of evidence of criminal activity to actually conduct these searches or even these arrests.
Do we have any idea of how many North Carolinians use hemp and marijuana and might be affected by this?
Yeah, it's impossible to say exactly because, people don't always answer surveys accurately about illegal drug use, but it's likely millions of North Carolinians. There was a recent national study found about half of all Americans have used marijuana at some point in their lives, and that includes about 1 in 4 people who've used it within the last year. Of course, there's a lot of legal hemp users as well, and actually, the state crime lab doesn't have the ability to tell the difference between these two things. And so for a big trafficking case, they'll hire a private lab and to be able to prove that this is definitely marijuana. But that's too expensive to do for just your run-of-the-mill, simple possession, guy walking down the street kind of case. And so in that kind of situation, they just have to take it to a jury and hope that the jury sides with them over the officer.
Wow. This may not be a done deal yet. This could go to the state Supreme Court?
That's right. This was just a Court of Appeals ruling, and like I said, we legalized hemp years ago, and this problem has been around for the entire time. And the state Supreme Court has never weighed in on this. They've just completely ignored the issue, despite this is not the first case that this has come up in. But the fact that this does really open the floodgates much more aggressively than any other court ruling could put some new pressure on the Supreme Court to finally step in and kind of settle this issue.
Will, great reporting. Appreciate it as always. I got to highlight something that Will mentioned there. Did you hear that? The state crime lab doesn't have the technology to test whether something is hemp or marijuana. There are, though, companies that are working on this. For example, Orange Photonics makes this kit. It's the Light Lab 3. It's specifically for law enforcement. It can tell whether the sample is THC dominant marijuana or if it's CBD dominant, which would be hemp. A few years ago, Purdue Northwest partnered with a company called Hemp Synergistics. They are working on a field-ready disposable device that can do these tests. It's still a prototype. And there's also T-Check. It's an at-home kit that works with an app on your phone to test oil and herbs for THC potency. So as for the court case, the state Supreme Court could weigh in at some point. If that happens, we will let you know. Kat?
Well, I've got some good news to start weather today. How about a nice day in the forecast? Wednesday, that's your day to make outdoor plans this week. A little less hot with highs in the 80s. And the key here will be the lower humidity that is on the way. Taking a look outside, we are dealing with storms, though. That's the downside to that nicer forecast. We've got to get through the front, and that's what's triggering these storms. You can see kind of a broken line of these three storms that's moving to the south. A little bit of new development up in southern Virginia that we'll have to watch for later tonight. We're watching one cell that's headed right for Benson. Heavy rain, a lot of lightning in that storm. Lillington also dealing with some heavy rain and quite a bit of lightning at this time. We had a shower move through Bunn, a downpour, I should say, and that storm that was over Enfield has really weakened as it's moved closer to Howgood. The cold front is dropping south. Behind it, we will slowly see a northeast wind kick in. However, the front may stall and get stuck closer to our southern counties, so south of the triangle would be our best chance for rain and storms tomorrow. In the triangle points north, a small chance of a shower. It would actually possibly be earlier in the day. In our southern counties, more of your afternoon storms will be possible. But the changes start tomorrow, and by tomorrow evening, it may be feeling more comfortable for many of us. Rain chances continue to drop after that on Wednesday. Even Thursday and Friday, rain chances are pretty low. Once we get to the weekend, though, storm chances crank back up. So during the work week, if there are any big projects that you need to get done that require drier weather or being outside, this is going to be one of your better weeks to get that done. It's a brief pattern change, so don't get used to it, but our northeast wind will kick in behind the front as high pressure builds into the north. That high pressure system strong enough to push this front south of us. Storm chances are pretty low up until the weekend, but the weekend comes with high heat, high humidity, and higher storm chances. Unfortunately, we don't get this nice weather to line up with the weekend, but make the most of your Wednesday. I do want to tell you about a tropical area that we're watching in the main development region. The odds that this turns into something and develops, just 10%. I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's going to be heading into an environment that's less favorable for development. It will eventually head toward the Caribbean, but that's if it can make it even that far. So at this point, I wouldn't worry. We'll let you know if that changes, though. In the meantime, enjoy a nice day ahead for Wednesday before the heat really cranks back up by the weekend. 97 both Saturday and Sunday. We'll see better storm chances and higher heat last into next week, but a nice little reprieve from the heat on the way.
We will take what we can get. Thank you, Kat. Hey, one last thing tonight. We're gonna push it to the limit. You know that song? A 12-year-old girl from Cary is headed to Japan for the Jump Rope World Championships. Yes, that's a thing. Another episode of 7 p.m. Super Kids right after the break. One last thing. We always like to showcase the young people in our area. There are athletes, students, artists, engineers, and they're our future. It's time for another episode of 7 p.m. Super Kids.
7 p.m. Super Kids!
You know that's Dan Haggerty's voice, right? Unless you're a fan of Disney Channel original movies, you might not know that jump rope is a super competitive sport. Later this week, the 2025 World Jump Rope Championships is in Kawasaki, Japan, and a 12-year-old girl from our area will represent the United States. This is Sophia Chirico. She is a member of the Super Skippers at the Northwest Cary YMCA. Look at her go! In Japan, Sophia will compete in 5 different events. I'm not going to get into all the technical terms, but basically you jump rope super fast. You do some really cool tricks, like what Sophia is doing in this video. And then, of course, double Dutch, the OG. This team has competed for years in local, national, and international tournaments. This year, 38 Super Skippers qualified for the national team, and Sophia is one of them.
This is my first time doing Worlds. I am now just old enough, so I'm doing the Junior World Championship for Worlds. That's a 12 to 15 age group.
Sophia Chirico, you're amazing. Sophia practices 3 times a week. She's been practicing for a while. She first joined the Super Skippers program when she was 8 years old. We asked her how she got started.
I was at the YMCA with my dad, and he was at the gym, and I was doing jump ropes. So somebody came up and asked me, "Are you with the Super Skippers?" And I said, "No, what's that?" They said, "Oh, you should totally be with Super Skippers. It's a competitive jump rope team. Tryouts are next week." So I did tryouts, and I made it onto the developmental team. And then the next year I was on competitive team. Everybody is so nice. And it's a really nice chance to meet up with other people. And if you're a competitive person, I totally recommend it. Go for it.
Hey, she's selling it to me. And there are lots of opportunities to try that with the Super Skippers. The YMCA has jump rope camps. The last one is in August. Those start up in the middle of September for those classes. So if you and your family want to jump in, take Sophia's advice. Go for it. Good night.